We have started this section last time, but we'll quickly run through some of the preliminary sentences and then proceed further. As I told you last time, this section has 42 sentences and 171 lines. So you see, throughout Savitri, whether it is you take a section, you take a canto, you take a book or whatever, throughout Savitri, on average, per sentence, the number of lines is little more than 4. Per sentence, the number of lines is 4. So you can immediately get the idea of how many lines are there in a given section straight away by multiplying it by 4. You get a rough idea, very close idea. See, 171 lines and 42 sentences, it is 4.2 lines per sentence, you see. So throughout that thing is maintained in Savitri. So it is a kind of a stanza also, but stanza of very less up and down, see. And that up and down depends upon the inspiration. It goes up, it comes down, one line, single line, 10 line. In one sentence there are 33 lines, you see. A consciousness lit by a truth above was felt. Well, actually, this line is kind of overflowing. A consciousness lit by a truth above was felt. There is a short pause after above, but then there is an injama also here. See, a consciousness lit by a truth above was felt. It saw the light, but not the truth. It caught the idea and built from it a world. It made an image there and called it God. Consciousness led by a truth above. Well, actually, it is not the truth which is giving light, so to say, but what is being said here is that truth belongs to Satchidananda. And that Satchidananda's light is what is lighting this consciousness. So in the strictest sense, this consciousness is lit by the consciousness force itself of Satchidananda. Sat Chit Ananda, Sat Chit consciousness force, you say. So this consciousness, what is working here in the cosmic dimension, is in fact guided, lit, propelled by consciousness force herself. Was well. It saw. Now this consciousness, it is feeling, but it doesn't have that kind of an identity with that consciousness force. It saw the light, but not the truth. Yes, there is something, some illumination is there, some guidance is there, but what is the basic thing behind that thing? Of that it has no knowledge, because it has entered into the world of inconscience. It has entered into the world of inconscience. This consciousness, see, is small here. Small. It is not consciousness force, C capital, F capital, you see. First way, it saw the light, but not the truth. Because it only saw the light, but it doesn't have the idea of the truth, the reality of the truth, the identification with the truth. It caught the idea and built from it a world. So what it has really got now is only the idea of the objective formulation. That is all it can do. But the real idea is missing. What? Oh, there is only the idea, not the real idea, you see. It caught the idea, and because it is only idea and not the real idea, it made an image. What it could do at the most is an image, and not a living deity, not a breathing, living entity here. So what we have got is an image, a murti only here we have got, you see, there, and called it God, obviously. Yet, although that is the limitation, it is building up an image only, yet something true and inward harbored there. Her work, her action has something definitely brought here, which is true and inward inside this world. What was not present at all, even the image of God was not present here. The idea of God was not present here, nothing was here. But then she has brought those things into this creation here, this consciousness system. The beings of that world, of greater life up there, of that greater life, tenants of a larger air and freer sphere. Yes, that is what they are. They live in larger air and freer space, not constrained by our limitations, by mortality, by ignorance, by mind. They are not limited by that thing. Tenants of a larger air and freer space live not by the body or in outward things. Obviously, they do not live by outward things. A deeper living was a seat of self. These creatures, these beings, in fact, this is what we had got earlier, greater life, previous description. So, the creatures of that life, the denizens of that greater life, live a deeper living was their seat of self. In that intense domain of intimacy, objects dwell as companions of the soul. So there is a kind of an identification of the object and the soul there, you see. It does not see only a physical form of it, outer form of it, but the inner core of it. What actually significant it is, that is that what they see actually. The spark, the divine presence there, it is that is what you would call the soul of an atom, the soul of a pearl, the soul of a diamond, the soul of a topaz. They have got the soul of a mountain, the soul of a plant. See, it is that inner reality which is what they see, you see. Objects dwell as companions of the soul. The body's action are a minor script of that thing, are a minor script. The surface rendering of a life within. So body's actions are after all only surface outward renderings of something which is living within. It is that which is expressing itself to that thing. Means because of the companionship of the soul. All forces are life's retinue in that world, that greater world, greater life, world of greater life. All forces are life's retinue in that world, and thought and body as her handmaids move. So, after all, our mental being, our physical being are only servants, helpers, so to say, in that operation. The universal widenesses give her room, her life, her life. Give her room. All feel the cosmic movement. Because of that, they all feel cosmic movement in their acts and are the instruments of her cosmic mind. Her again stands for life. Her cosmic life, consciousness, which is there. Or their own self, they make their universe. They can make their own universe also, although they are living. Or their own self, they make their universe. In all who have risen to a greater life, reason to greater life. A voice of unbound things whispers to the ear. What a line again. A voice unbound things whispers to the ear. Suddenly the poetry is different, you see. In all who have risen to a greater life, a voice of unbound things, a voice of unbound things. I am hearing spontaneous whispers, talking to the ear, anapist. A voice unbound thing whispers to the ear. Suddenly the music is different with the line, you see. To their eyes visited by some high sunlight. All these creatures, for these creatures who are living this greater life, their eyes visited by some high sunlight. Aspiration shows the image of a crown. What is to come here? At the top triumph, you see, crown. To work out what is that crown, what is that they are aiming at, to work out a seed that she has sown within. These objects, they have something seed in them. It is that seed which must sprout and fructify and flower and fructify. To achieve her power in them, her creatures live of this greater life. Each is a greatness growing towards the high. Each of that creature. Each is a greatness growing toward the high. Or from his inner center, oceans out. Is a greatness growing towards the height, or something keeps on coming out and oozing out constantly, issuing out from him, or from his inner center, oceans out, encircling ripples of concentrated power, encircling ripples of concentric power. They swallow, glutted their environment. Circling ripples. You drop a stone in a quiet pond, still pond, and then this ripples start spreading out, spreading out, spreading out. Ripple, circles after circles spread out, you see. Encircling ripples of concentric power, because it is that which has been seeded. That is the point. You have dropped a stone there at a point somewhere, and that becomes the point of focus of our center from which the all activity is spread out as a circle. They swallow, glutted their environment. So the whatever comes in the way, you swallow. Even now that largeness, many a cabin make, but that largeness is there, they have received it. But then what happens? They still make a small room for them, a small domain for their own work and activity. They confine themselves to a limited zone of action, you see. Even of that largeness, many a cabin make in narrower breadths and briefer vistas, pent, they live content with some small greatness one. See, I mean the whole idea is you want to spread, but at the same time you want to give some concreteness to a small form. So they have to also meditate to a certain form, definiteness, and it is in that they keep on working there. Now it is that form which is in a small measure, it is that which has to grow in the course of time. Even that largest many a cave in make, in narrower breadths and briefer vistas, pent, living, caught there. They live content, pent and content. There is a kind of an internal rhyming there, which is very felicitous also here. In narrower breadths and briefer content. And this line, in narrower breadths and briefer content, this term, see, the line has alliteration of R and B. In narrower breadths and briefer vistas spent, they live content with some small greatness one. See, the ripples are flowing, but then again they make small regions for their own activities. To rule the little empire of themselves, to be a figure in the private world, they want to create their own small little world where they can be the kings. To be a figure in the private world and make the various joys and griefs their own and satisfy the life motives and life wants is charge enough and office for this trend. Well, they're happy with that, to be happy. Is charge enough, is sufficient for them. A steward on the person and his fate. Steward, one who manages the finances of the landlord or the lord, whatever it is. He is a steward. He is a steward of the person and his fate. So they are the steward of the person and his fate. They manage for him the whole property, all his finances, his business, everything you see, and satisfy the life motives and life form. Is charge enough and office for their strength. Is steward of the person, the deep soul within, they are the steward.